No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend.
Talking on it though, then
He
you
a
can't work
legend.
it up later.
Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
What's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and we are about to have the Rumble stage. That starts on the 20th. So in this video, we're going to do a quick recap, or I guess more of an update of what the lines have adjusted to for the teams that will win MSI. So based on the performances that we've seen so far, do you think that the teams who are most likely to win have changed? If so, how much have they changed? And that's something that you should kind of write down on a piece of paper before we get started. So we have T1, RNG, G2, EG, PSG, and Saigon Buffalo. So on a piece of paper or in an Excel spreadsheet or on in Microsoft Word, you should write down every team and the percent chance that you think that they will win, okay? So do that. Pause the video and do that, and then we're going to compare your numbers to the numbers that the sportsbook has offered, because a lot of you disagree with me about things, but do you disagree with the sportsbook enough to bet on it and make money? Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm doing. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Obviously, EG has not performed the way that I thought they will, and I've lost money because of it, and that's not a big deal. I've also won money because of my takes before, and I'm still in the green. So I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. Are you? That's the question. So pause the video, write down those numbers. And we're back. So let's go through all of them. So before the tournament started, T1 was at minus 175. Now they're at minus 250. That's an 8% difference in their likelihood to win the tournament. Do you think that T1 should be 8% more likely to win based off of beating a bunch of teams that they're much better than? In my opinion, the answer is obviously no. They didn't do anything in the group stage against Detonation Focus Me, Saigon Buffalo, or Team A's that should suggest they're even better than they were before. RNG went from plus 150 to plus 175. That means that the sportsbook is saying that they are 4% less likely. So what's probably happened is a lot of people haven't watched T1 as much, and now they start seeing T1 and they say, oh, wow, they are so good. They're undefeated for a reason. I want to get my money down on them at like minus 175, minus 200, minus 250. That's why the number has moved in that direction. So now the sportsbook is trying to incentivize people to bet on RNG. With G2, kind of the opposite has happened. So G2 has been pretty dominant in their group. They were dominant in their group, and they beat up on EG, which was surprising to me. So before the tournament started, they were plus 1,200. Now they're plus 700. So that's a 4.5% increase. So you need to ask yourself and be honest with yourself. Do you think that G2 beating EG and Team Order makes them 5% more likely to do well against a team like RNG or a team like T1? The correct answer is no. There's nothing that we saw in the group stage that should make you feel like G2 is going to be more competitive or less competitive than they were going into the tournament. If you thought that they were already competitive going into the tournament, you shouldn't think they're more competitive because of their performance against EG. That's just not a smart thing to kind of do. Now, if you told me, okay, well, I've been paying attention a lot to Twitter, and I know that G2 behind the scenes has had good scrim results against RNG and T1, that is something that you might want to consider betting on. But you can't consider betting on G2 at this point to win the tournament at worse odds just because they did better in their group stage than a lot of people thought, because not many people expected them to go undefeated. I mean, be honest with yourself. You didn't expect them to go undefeated, and if you did expect them to go undefeated and you didn't bet on it, then you're kind of foolish, because that's really the easiest way to kind of prove that you actually thought that. Next up, we have EG. So right when this line was posted, before MSI started, it was like plus 4,000, and I thought that was a joke. I instantly put $100 on EG at plus 4,000. Then, I got a lot of people, I guess, bet on it. It went down to 2,500. Then during the group stage, it went up to like plus 50,000. And I thought to myself, well, that's kind of insane. Why would that change so much? They're still going to qualify for the Rumble stage. Maybe people are less confident that they're going to win the tournament overall or something. But to think that you're going to lose percentage points. I mean, I could see why less people are betting on them now, and the sportsbook is trying to incentivize it. Now it's at plus 10,000, so I instantly bet another $20 on it. And there's two ways that this can benefit me. Either they win and I win thousands of dollars, or they get to the semifinals and look very competitive, or they somehow get to the finals. If they get to the finals, the sportsbook will be contacting me and saying, "Hello, please cash out. We do not want a $6,000 liability. Take $2,000 and go away." That's a potential scenario, I think, in my mind. Maybe it's less than that, but it's a possibility. The next team was PSG, so PSG is roughly the same. They went from 6,600 to 8,000. That's from 1.5% to 1.25%. Not a huge difference. I don't think that anything from the group stage should really make people feel much different about PSG either. And then Saigon, a lot of people didn't expect Saigon to do well. I know that there's some people in the chat who were probably, Vietnamese fans who were saying, Saigon Buffalo is so much better than you're giving them credit for. And, if you put money on them to win matches, then good for you. They were underdogs in a lot of spots. We even talked about some of those spots in one of the previous videos where it makes sense to bet against DFM because they were kind of, in my mind, it was like an easy way to get against a team that was a little bit more popular. So that's the Saigon Buffalo. So, moving forward, I don't think that I'm going to bet any more money on the futures. I've got my money on EG. I don't think I'm going to get a good enough number on T1 or RNG to justify betting that. I'd rather just let it ride with EG. If I lose $100, I lose $100. It's not going to change my life in the least. If $100 is going to change your life, you should not be watching my videos about betting, and you should not be betting. So that's just the honesty, and that's not trying to make fun of anybody. It's just be responsible. So the last thing I want to talk about in this video is G2 against EG. So I've been commenting back and forth with a lot of people on these YouTube videos, and a lot of them are obviously just trolls, and they're trying to make me upset because EG lost and because they're offended that I didn't think G2 was going to be good. But then there are some reasonable people out there as well. And I was talking to one of those people today back and forth. We were talking about talent evaluation and, what makes a player talented. Why do you think Danny and Vulcan are talented and things like that? Basically, the reason why I think Danny and Vulcan are better than Flocket and Targamas still is because EG is built around Danny and G2 is built around Caps. If Flocket and Targamas were that good, EG would be consistently playing through them as their focal point. I think that most people who watch G2 would agree that Caps is really the one who outperformed the most in the group stage. Going into this tournament, we knew that Caps against Jojo Pyun was going to be probably the most important matchup, and for that reason, G2 has an advantage in the mid lane that is bigger than I thought it was going to be. Some of that has to do with talent, and some of that has to do with champion pool. So, in terms of talent, we're not 100% sure what Jojo Pyun is going to be long term. He could be a very good mid laner, he could be a very good international mid laner, or he could be a league average mid laner in the LCS. If he's a league average mid laner in the LCS, then this is kind of the result that we would have expected. But I have more hope in Jojo Pyun than that. And the fact that he's so young, he has the chance to kind of grow from this experience and improve. So it's not a given that he'll be better than this, but the hope is that he will be better than this. So, just going through G2 against EG again. In the top lane, every single year leading up to this year, if you said, who is the better player, Impact or Broken Blade, most people are going to say Impact. That doesn't mean that it's the correct take, but most of the league community would agree that if you were starting a team and you wanted to win this year, you're probably better off having Impact than Broken Blade. Maybe Broken Blade gives you a little bit more carry upside, but I don't really know if that's even true at this point. But with Impact, you have that steady mid laner, or the steady top laner, and when you think about a team like Cloud9, they're going from Summit to Fudge. Yes, Fudge can carry, but Summit would carry much more often. It's just that Summit's bad results were worse than potentially what Fudge would give you. But again, I don't really believe in that either. Summit is just more willing to die, and we see some of the best top laners in the world embrace that playstyle, including the Shy, who's arguably the best top laner of all time. In the jungle, Inspired has been better than Jankos every single split, in my opinion, since he started playing professional League of Legends. Maybe there were one or two splits where Jankos was better. I don't really think so. I think that Inspired, again, is a kind of player who is generally the focal point of their team. Impact is not. Inspired is. Jojo Pyun, not as good as Caps. So in the mid lane, G2 definitely has the advantage. That does impact drafting, and that does impact the way that the game is able to play out. At the same time, EG didn't play well around some of the situations where Caps ended up outplaying them. Like, you had multiple players from EG walking away from a guaranteed kill, then Caps turns that quickly because they don't have the numbers advantage anymore, and then, he creates a highlight play, which I'm not trying to take anything away from Caps. It's just with correct play or against a better team, Caps would not be able to do that. Then in the bot lane, like I said before, we have Danny and Vulcan against Flocka and Targamas. Going into the split, or going into this event, I said, Danny and Vulcan, I think, are the better carry bot lane. If Jinx was the most important AD carry at this competition, I think that EG would be doing much better so far. But right now, it's not the case. Right now, you have a lot more utility AD carries being impactful in lane, and teams are willing to play them. So stylistically, EG is at a disadvantage because the popularity of utility AD carries is rising, and the power level seems to be pretty good, and that has the advantage in the early game against a team like EG, which means EG is playing the more difficult side of most of these matchups. And G2 has done a good job drafting. I've never doubted Dylan Falco's ability as a coach. I've always liked him a ton as a coach. And when he was on Fnatic, he had reached out to me at one point for item stuff. Nothing ever happened with it, but he did. And then I guess the thing I want to leave you with is kind of not a thought experiment, but just think about this for a second, because if your talent evaluation is telling you that G2 is better and mine is saying that EG is better, that's fine. We can have a different opinion. We weigh things differently. I see what I see. You see what you see. That's just the dilemma of human beings with senses existing through time. Like, that just happens. We're not going to agree on everything. But ask yourself, if you really truly think that the team gap between G2 and EG is so immense, what do you think would happen if Caps and Jojo Pyun swapped teams? If you honestly think that G2 is that much better than EG, you should say it doesn't matter that Jojo Pyun and Caps switch teams, because the top diff, jungle diff, bot diff is just so huge. Give us Jojo Pyun, it's completely fine. Then you would need to ask yourself, well, what do I really think about Caps? What makes him a great player? How much is he contributing to his team? If you don't think that he's contributing that much to that team, then how do you think that the mid gap is that huge? It's either or. So I personally, the way that I look at it, the matchup that is the least close right now, based on results, would appear to be mid lane. I know Danny had a horrible game or two, but I'm willing to not focus on that. I think that Caps is really the heart and soul of G2. And if you don't think that switching out Caps and Jojo Pyun is a worthwhile example, think about other LEC mid laners. Like, if you swapped out Caps and Humanoid, I think Caps is much better than Humanoid. You probably don't. If you swapped out Caps for Humanoid, would they be just as good or better than they are now? If you swapped out Caps and go to Niski, who I think just signed with the team, would the team be better or worse? Would they be about the same? I think that they'd be much worse because Niski's not good. And just go through that thought experiment. How important do you actually think that Caps is to G2? Because Caps is the focal point of that team, the most important player on that team. And I think that people who want to pretend like G2 is so much better than EG, the easy way to kind of go against that is by doing something like that. Swap Caps for Jojo Pyun, and what happens? And I know that there's a lot of reasonable people out there who never, commented on the videos or tried to trigger me by posting something about haha, EG sucks. This isn't targeted to you, in a negative way. This is more actually think about this kind of thing. Your opinions can change. My opinion can change. When there's enough evidence to justify changing the position. Personally, I don't think that 4 games in an international competition is enough to completely change talent evaluation for a team. So, in the future, maybe I'll talk a little bit about, the meta. I think that the meta right now is moving towards utility AD carries. It's going to put a higher importance on the mid jungle duo because they're going to be more influential. When you move to utility AD carries, a lot of the time, unless there are a lot more occurrences of team fights, the actual damage from those champions decreases. Like if one of them starts snowballing out of control, yes, you could get a huge damage number. But if it's a pretty slow-paced game, utility AD carries aren't going to pump out as much damage as Jinx will in the late game. And not as consistent damage as Jinx will in the late game. And ultimately, that's just stylistic stuff. But that's basically it for today. I just wanted to talk about that before the Rumble stage started. I think everything is about how we expected it to go, except for EG going 0-4 against G2. The sixth slot for the Rumble stage was always kind of a toss-up. But Saigon Buffalo is there now. Maybe Saigon Buffalo can make a run at it and like be competitive against PSG, EG, G2, and sneak into the semifinals. That'd be an interesting thing to see happen. It would probably make me very sad, but it'd be at least interesting and entertaining to watch. So that's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.